So 7 years ago, me and Eric reserved a Tesla Semi. After 5 years of waiting for that electric truck, it never came. We said, screw it, we're gonna build our own electric truck. So I wanna tell you the story because people have been asking, how do a couple of truck drivers out of a tent shop in a parent's backyard build an electric truck when billion-dollar companies struggle? So this is the full history of Edison Motors, straight from school all the way to where we are now. All right, it all started with this truck you see behind me here. Old Blue, which is our 1969 Kenworth LW made in Vancouver, BC. So me and Eric met in university, and I had experience driving truck. I drove truck before school, drove myself truck to put myself through school. Me and Eric became friends and we wanted to start a business. Turns out when you're a broke university student, nobody gives you money to start a business. Oh, they'll give you $100,000 in student loans, but not money to start a business. So we looked at the money we had and had about $10,000 between us. And I said, well, Eric, let's go buy a logging truck. I know how to drive truck and I make good money doing it. And Eric said, absolutely. We only have $10,000. I'm like, I found this truck, $4,000, truck and trailer, and she was rough. It was exactly what you expect a 50-year-old $4,000 truck to be. But me and Eric on our last semester of university, we tore this thing down, replaced every airline, electrical, repainted it, resanded it. We put it to work. We started hauling, we made money, and then we bought another truck. And then we bought another truck and we drew the trucking company. And then that allowed us to get into our passion, which was doing hybrid power systems and doing some solar. Me and Eric are both big solar nerds. I like it. It's free power from the sun. What's not to like about solar? It's free energy. So we used the money we made driving truck to get into solar. We had our first big break when we did a hybrid power system. Eric, who is absolutely a genius for electrical engineering, noticed that they were oversizing the generator because of the peak capacity. Basically, you have a huge generator to meet a peak capacity, but your average demand was relatively low. So what if we had the generator meet a little bit above the average demand, and then the generator just keeps average, the battery keeps the peak power demand, and we can keep that battery recharging when the sun's out, the sun's not out, we'll run the diesel. So we did the first ever hybrid community project in British Columbia. And that's kind of what got started us, and we got another project, and we've done islands and things that are like normally you could never run power to, and we've made them hybrid. And it was that knowledge there where we said, well, hey, we don't really know electric vehicles, but we know the hell out of trucks. We have a passion for these things. We've been restoring tons of these trucks. We probably restored 15 different trucks that we've worked on throughout the years. Torn them down, rebuild them. I know every nut and bolt. I know how to service them, and I know what works on these things. We know about these hybrid power systems. We've done hybrid power. We've done trucks. Let's make a hybrid truck.
Yeah, so what you see behind me here is our solar light tower plants that Chase and I invented about maybe 5 years ago now. Well, you know, we did a lot of hauling out there, and we noticed that when we were installing these solar systems for clients, it was kind of a once a year thing, maybe twice at most. And they weren't very consistent, but we were having tons of fun, right? It was kind of a realization Chase and I had where, hey, we could actually make this a portable solution, something that we can make a little bit smaller, a little bit more portable, and we can deliver them to sites. One thing I saw for sure was going to be like light plants, because most of them are diesel powered. So we designed a system up over a couple weekends, and it's crazy how just over the years it's now become a licensed product with Finning. And through that experience of manufacturing and building these systems with the 48 volt configuration, we said, heck, you know, might be able to build an electric vehicle with like a 450 volt system. And that's where we're at now.
Okay, while we were building those hybrid trailers, we had reserved a Tesla Semi. I saw all the advantages of logging. You're going uphill empty, you're coming downhill loaded for the regenerative braking. So me and Eric were actually kind of stoked to try out an electric truck. We were the 25th person that reserved it. He announced that, and they had a little reserve button at the event. We hit the reserve and we reserved it at the event. We were excited, but the more we were looking at it after we reserved it, we kept saying, well, if I was going to build an electric truck, I'd do it this way. And the battery alone, we started doing the math, and like the batteries aren't big enough to do the job. I'd make it as a hybrid. If like We're doing hybrid. Why wouldn't you do a hybrid? And finally people said, hey, how about you stop bitching about the way that truck is and build your own truck if you know how to do it better? And I said, I will build my own truck. So called up Tesla and said, give me my money back from the deposit. I'm gonna start my own trucking company and I'm gonna call it Edison Motors. Give me my money back. So they sent our money back, and we did. We started our own trucking company and we called it Edison Motors, because Edison Motors stealing Tesla's idea to build an electric semi-truck. And you know what? That was 5 years that they had our money. We started this about 2.5 years ago, and we built it, and they're still not delivering the truck. We would still be waiting for that. We built 2 trucks before they were able to build our own. This was the very first, our proof of concept. So I came out with this idea. We launched it on social media and we did crowdfunding. We raised about $500,000 in 4 days. We basically sold some hats with some shares that came with it and said, hey, if you support us, you can get a hat, some shares, and that'll help us build this proof of concept to see if it works. Like, can we even build an electric truck? We had this project truck was actually waiting. We were gonna put a big cam 400, put an 18 speed. It was getting turned into a tri-drive, and this was gonna be another logging truck for our operations. So we had already had it stripped and painted. So we said, well, let's just use this one. And we did. And it worked. And we proved that we could build an electric truck. We didn't have to go the Nikola route. We didn't have to release the brakes, push it down a hill and let it roll. That's a real thing Nikola Motors did as a $3 billion company. We didn't have to. We actually built a working truck with a generator. It's got a 3306 cat generator. Then it's got a motor that we ripped out of a Tesla batteries. We were stealing Tesla's idea and stealing Tesla's parts, but we literally, but we got her done. We got her delivered. We proved it over. And then we went in and said, okay, people said, you built one retrofit. We don't think you can actually build a truck. And you said, want to bet? We built a retrofit. I'll build a real truck too. So we did crowdfunding and we raised $1.5 million to do our R&D. Basically, we built this truck from the frame rails up. This came in as 2 pieces of raw frame rail. We designed, built, put every nut and bolt in this thing. We got it out, we got it working. We went through the inspection, the regulation. It got a VIN number as a licensed truck. Every time people said we couldn't do it. Oh, you won't be able to build your own electric truck. Well, we did it with Carl. Okay, well, that was a one-off retrofit. You won't be able to build your own. Well, we did build our own and it worked. And they said, well, then you won't be able to build your own truck and get it road legal. We not only built it, we got it road legal. Every time somebody says we couldn't do it, we've done it. We've done it because we know trucks. We're truckers. We built trucks, restored trucks, love trucks, live in trucks. Me and Eric live and breathe these semi-trucks. You don't need a team of 400 or 500 Silicon Valley tech bros to tell you how to build a logging truck. You need loggers and mechanics. That was the secret. We didn't need to raise hundreds of millions of dollars. We got it done in my parents' backyard out of a tent, and we got them. We had mechanics that had worked out in the field logging. Mechanics that had been 40 years servicing trucks. We got truck drivers in here saying that this is how the truck should be. And then when we needed the help with the EV side, we contracted that out. We weren't starting as an EV company trying to learn a truck, because you can do EVs. It's just moving power. Electric vehicles have been around since the 1930s with freight trains, 1960s with the Laternos at the sawmill. What's fundamentally important is the truck part of the truck, and we knew that. That was our advantage. That's why we won. That's why we didn't need to release the brakes and roll it down a hill. That's why when we were waiting for 7 years for a Tesla Semi, we were able to build our own in 2. One of the things about using truckers and mechanics with the knowledge is that we were able to build this truck simple. We didn't need to reinvent the wheel. Like, there was one electric truck manufacturing company that had its parking brakes fail and release. But you know what? Parking brakes have been the same since the 1950s. They're a spring brake chamber that locks that spring on. When you lose the air pressure, it dynamites on. It can't fail. It's been that way. You don't need to reinvent that. When you go in and you want to source parts, why do we need to design and engineer our own parts? It's planned obsolescence, and it's bullshit, because that treadle valve that's in that truck has been the same treadle valve they've been putting on trucks for the last 40, 60 years. Why do I need a fancy treadle valve? Just go get the one that CBS Parts has on the shelf that we could find in this small town and build it with. Like, it was the advantage. I'm sorry. But if you know trucks, you just know what parts work. I know what a Type 3030 brake pot is, and I'm going to put a 3030 brake pot because it's the most common, most economical, and it just doesn't fail. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't need a fancy touchscreen parking brake and all this thing. It just has to work. And I can service that, I can work on it, I can take it to any of my buddies and they can work on it, and that's how a truck should be made. That's how a truck should be built. An owner-operator should be able to work on it. I'm tired of people saying that just because it's an electrical vehicle, you can't work on it. The sawmill is electrical. They say, well, it's high voltage. I'm sorry, but have high voltage parts not been in sawmills? There's 3-phase power in sawmills with electric motors. There's industrial electricians that can work on that. But suddenly, if those parts move, you can't work on it, you've got to reinvent it? Horse shit. This is so simple. It's so easy to build and it's easy to work on. That's the damn way an electric truck should be built.
So I want to emphasize, we could have not done this without our fans. I mean, your generosity is what built Carl with crowdfunding round 1. You know, build Topsy with crowdfunding round number 2. And now, because of all the hard lessons learned with this, we're ready for production with round 3 coming up here. And what we're trying to do here is build trucks in North America again, like we used to. So please, with your help, let's try to get there together.
All right, so if you believe in Edison Motors, and you know that a bunch of blue-collar guys can actually get things built the way we used to build things here in North America, this is your chance to invest. Right now, depending on the timeline of this video, because it can take 2-3 weeks to come out, and we're just so close to being able to release that next funding, go to the website, EdisonMotors.ca. Under the investment page, there's either going to be a sign-up list where you're going to get an email to notify you when it's live, or it could be live right now, depending on when the government gets our paperwork back to us to say yes. So please, we'd love it if you guys could invest early on with us. Love it if you guys could help us get to production. If you guys believe in us, thank you so much, and thank you for all the support you've given us so far. I cannot wait to take this next step together.
Well, if you made it into the video and you haven't subscribed yet, definitely click that logo on the page. And thanks so much for supporting us on our merch store. Really appreciate that. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, X, and on TikTok. And don't leave yet. We got some great content on the page. So keep exploring, and thanks for joining the journey with us.